Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son and sometimes guests get together and talk about fantasy, science fiction, and other nerdy things that we enjoy. Thank you for being with us here today. And before you even see what we bring to you, I want to remind you, if you like it, show it by clicking that like button down below there. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, we'd love to have you join the growing crowd that's finding us. And comments, want to say something? Put them in the comment box. We always reply. And look in the show notes for other ways that you can get in touch with Zach and I, or with our guest, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But it is a pleasure to have you all with us here today. There's no Zach. He's off doing other things on assignment, probably the assignment of his girlfriend, partner, and such. But that's good. He should have a life. I have a hobby. And I've got Spencer with me. If this is your first time here, you don't know who he is yet, maybe. But longtime watchers, you know Spencer. You love Spencer from the Fantasy Files podcast. Spencer,
Yes.
how you doing?
I am doing so good. I have been looking forward to this all day. Of course, I always love chatting with you, and I seriously can't wait to talk about what we're going to talk about.
Such a good show for us to talk about. And we've talked about this together before. We're going to go a little deeper on some of it today. But of course, we want to bring it to these great people and they can share the love. So more about that in a moment. Spencer, if they end up really enjoying seeing you here today, and of course they will.
I hope so.
Where could they see more of you? Tell us about your content.
Yeah, so me and my best friend Gabe, we run a podcast called the Fantasy Files podcast. We also have two other co-hosts, Chris and Mick, one of which is actually in Australia. So that's always kind of a...
Down under.
Yeah. It's
you
always
ever throw
kind
a shrimp on the bobby for you guys when you're doing your thing?
Oh,
sorry, I just got to pull out.
I'm sure he thinks of us every time he throws a shrimp on the Barbie. But yeah, it's always nice to get his point of view. But yes, we talk about like fantasy and sci-fi, and you know, we're very similar to Fantasy for the Ages in that, you know, we also talk about like movies and shows and just kind of whatever interests us. We also do a lot of off-topic content, the most popular of which is our Creators Corner episodes, where we interview other content creators and we talk to authors and audiobook narrators and that kind of thing. We kind of go wildly off topic and have a lot of fun with that. We also have a Patreon where we have even more content there, which is even more just off-topic conversation and that kind of fun stuff. It's usually just me and Gabe. Yeah, me and Gabe just like goofing around and usually judging people on the internet. But yeah, you can find us on YouTube. Fantasy Files Podcast should come right up. And then we're also on Twitter. I think our handle is technically @FilesFantasy, but if you look up Fantasy Files Podcast, I'm sure we'll come up. We have a Discord link in our Twitter bio, so you can check us out there as well, which I've been sorely neglecting. I need to get back to the Discord and see what's going on there. I feel like it's kind of this apocalyptic wasteland where it's just like it's the land that God forgot. He like turned his back on us. He's like, there's nothing but a barren desert of sinners here. Turn his back on it. But yeah, I need to get back to the Discord, but you can hang out with us there for sure.
Now, what is this Twitter thing you speak of? Don't you mean X?
No, I don't mean X. I will never call it X. I think that's the stupidest name change ever. Like,
hey, I do X. I tell all the people all the time now. Yeah, I do X, man, every day.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so dumb.
Oh man, it's so weird.
Oh, well, again, thanks for being here. You know, we found out months ago that we both thoroughly enjoyed the show Ted Lasso. And if you're watching this and you haven't watched Ted Lasso yet, as soon as you're done watching this, you're going to want to go binge it. But honestly, you shouldn't stay here now if you have no idea what this show is, because we're going to spoil the heck out of the show as we just fanboy all over it. talking about the themes, the plots, the characters. No,
The
don't
ending.
go watch it. You can get through the first season in like 5.5 hours.
They're
Just
like
binge the whole
30-minute
thing.
episodes. I don't
Yeah,
think I realized that until I had seen a few of them already. I was
that's
like, these
right.
are like 30, 35
Now they
minutes.
get
Not bad.
longer in season 2 and
They do.
season 3.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was great because
Yeah,
it
more
was
Ted
almost not
Lasso.
enough in season
Yeah.
1. But yeah, you can get through the first season and then come check us out.
Yeah.
Honestly, that would be enough to enjoy what we're going to talk about today, but it'd be better to watch all 3, which of course we have. When we last talked about this, Spencer, you hadn't finished season 3 yet.
Yeah,
That's
so
part of what I'll want to know, as we get through this. How did you enjoy the end? But we'll get to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Before we talk, it's important to acknowledge how we continue to wet our whistles so we can keep talking. Because on this show, beverage of some sort's important.
Yeah.
I want you to know this is the first alcoholic beverage I've had in 2 weeks.
Whoa.
Which is, it's been a long time since I've gone 2 weeks without drinking something. But I am working to lose a little weight, and less alcohol does help.
Okay.
But this is so good now.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a white wine. It's an Albarino.
Okay.
From Mary Hill Winery and Vineyards here in Washington State. What are you drinking?
That's so funny because I am also drinking a white wine. I poured it before I even hit the StreamYard link, so I had no idea you were also drinking a white wine. This was a gift from a neighbor of mine. I don't know if it's like a particularly like expensive wine or anything like that, but the brand is Harry and David Vineyards, and it's a Pinot Gris. Is that how you pronounce that?
Pinot Gris is that's a
Yeah.
nice crisp wine. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. I'm typically not one for white wine. I like my Merlots and Syrahs.
Mm-hmm.
And
the whites may grow on you.
Yeah, I think it will. Honestly, I've had this sitting on my counter for like 6 months now, and I just didn't touch it because I've never really I didn't think that I liked white wine. But over Thanksgiving, there was a lot of white wine there, and I tried a few of them, and I really enjoyed what I had. And so I poured this tonight, opened the bottle for the first time, and I am really liking it. It's really sweet, and it tastes good. Yeah.
I enjoy that glass. There's some character to that glass.
Yeah, it's literally a jar.
It's like a ball jar for canning things in.
Yeah. It's even got like the threaded top and everything.
I see it.
Yeah, I really like it. I got it on like Facebook Marketplace, like buy nothing kind of Facebook. Yeah.
My fun secret with my glass is what I have inside.
Whoa.
Those are grapes. Frozen grapes.
Oh, I need to start doing this.
Because that way it keeps it chilled, but it doesn't dilute the wine.
Yeah,
ice would dilute it. You don't want to do that. So
you did this. You did this the last time I was on. You had some sort of cocktail with like frozen berries in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that looks good. And then I kind of forgot about it. I'm going to have to do that for sure.
Now, I certainly started out more with red wines as well, and I still love red wine. Yeah. But there's a nice difference. One particular thing between reds and whites, and this matters the older you get, is there's an element to red wine that will give you a headache sometimes that doesn't exist in white wine.
Interesting.
So you'll often not feel as bad after white wine as you might with red, especially if you drink a little too much. You'll feel the red a lot more than you'll feel the white. So there you go.
Interesting. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. Not that I was telling that as recommendation to anybody to go out and drinking. That's not where I was going. Just the wisdom of wines.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about Ted Lasso, this amazing show on Apple TV Plus. It alone is reason to get Apple TV Plus.
Oh, without a doubt. Now, it's why I got Apple.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
The sad thing, of course, is you've got to have some Apple hardware to get Apple TV Plus. You can't just subscribe online and just watch it on your computer. It doesn't have
that's what I do.
Like really? You do?
Yeah, I just subscribe to the service. I'm on just some random PC. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you just watch it on your TV through a Apple subscription, Apple TV Plus
Yeah.
subscription.
Yeah, my, like, Samsung
Whoa.
TV downstairs has Apple Plus too.
Well, it's sometimes built into some of the smart TVs. So is
Okay.
that true of your Samsung? It was already one of those apps that was preloaded?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so
okay.
that's one way. But that's
Okay.
good. No, that's good to know that they have made it more broadly available because when they originally rolled out Apple TV, you needed to have a little physical Apple TV.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or have
Interesting.
a phone or an iPad, that you needed an
Okay.
Apple device of some sort. I'm glad they've broadened that out. It didn't matter to me. I've been an Apple honk for decades,
Oh,
so
I'm the
I always could
exact
get it.
opposite. I hate Apple.
And yet we're still friends. How is that,
Yeah, I
Spencer?
don't
I don't
know.
understand. But
Now I know I show up as the green bubble every time I text you.
that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. The mark of Cain upon you.
Right, yeah.
Well, okay, so it's through Apple TV Plus.
Mhm.
And Apple TV, honestly, they're hit or miss on some of their shows. Every one of their shows I find is produced beautifully,
Oh,
high
so good.
production quality, but the actual quality of the story, it varies. They have knocked some out of the park, and then they've had some that have been okay. And some
Okay.
of that's a matter of taste
Yeah,
too. I
I'd
know
I'd
that.
be interested I'd be interested to know which ones you thought didn't quite hit the mark because so far I've watched Silo, Shrinking, and there was one other one that I watched that I thought were all like not as good as Ted Lasso, but I was
Uh-huh.
like, these are
Uh-huh.
all excellent in their own right.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
you've hit some good ones.
yeah, yeah.
Silo, absolutely. Love Silo. I've got content on the channel about Silo.
Nice.
And Shrinking, on your recommendation, we have watched a few episodes. We
Yes.
have enjoyed it. We've got a lot
Nice.
more to go.
Yeah.
But like Invasion, I've tried Invasion. I'm about 7 episodes in.
Uh-huh.
It's so slow getting going, and
Okay.
I hear the second season's better,
Hmm.
but this one I could see a lot of people trying and going
Yeah.
and dropping.
Yeah.
So they're not nailing every last one, I don't think. You
Sure.
haven't tried Invasion yet then?
No.
I mean, it's an alien invasion. It should be awesome.
It should be awesome. Yeah.
No, because
The
they've
one
leaned into the wrong things, I think.
Yeah.
So
The one that I really wanna watch now that I have Apple TV is, Severance.
I hear a lot of good things about that. The
Yeah.
one I'm looking to get to is For All Mankind, which
Yeah.
I've heard is amazing.
Yeah, Mike's book reviews made, like, several videos about it, and he was like, "You have to watch this show."
Yeah,
So, I'm like,
yeah.
"Alright."
So I'll get to it. It's
Yeah,
it's on the list. But I only have so much time to watch TV because I read so
same.
much.
Yep.
And then I do this stuff.
Yeah,
So limited. And
yeah.
some of that goes to cooking shows because my wife and I are addicted to cooking shows. It's true.
No. Great.
But this show somehow got on our radar. And
Hmm.
in the midst of all the choices we have, we both chose to watch it.
We
How did
watched it at
you?
the same time too.
Pretty much, we did. Yes.
Like, I started watching it completely independently of knowing that you were also watching it, and then I
Uh-huh.
saw on Twitter you were, like, posting something about it. I'm like, "Did we both just watch this show? Oh my gosh." So, yeah, I'm really curious as to how you got into it as well.
It was simply for me a matter of I'd heard the show was out. I'd seen
Yeah,
it, advertisements and such, but it's a comedy, and a lot of comedies these days, they're they're not worth my time. The
right.
humor is immature or too crass, cheap. I need stuff that's better and deeper
Yeah,
for me, and it just hasn't. I feel like a lot of the comedies I watch, I'm not their audience. They're
right.
not shooting for someone like me, so
Yeah,
I
that's
haven't
fair.
got into them. And this one, people just kept recommending it and kept
Mhm.
saying, "Hey, this is something different. This is
Yeah.
worthy." And somehow I didn't know a lot about it. I managed to not
Mhm.
get any spoils really, just enough buzz of there's something about this show that I finally said to my wife, "Hey, let's try this." People are talking.
Yeah.
And again, we started on a Saturday morning and we were done with season 1 before we turned off the TV.
Yeah.
Just sucked us right in.
Yeah.
We watched season 2 and season 3 over another 3 days. Not the
Mhm.
next 3 days, there is other things to do in life,
Yeah.
but it did not take us long. It was just like within week and a half, we had the whole thing consumed. It was
Yeah.
fantastic. How
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, I think I have a really interesting story for how I got into it. I had heard about Ted Lasso for a long time, and I kept just being like, I'm not into sports really. I don't watch football. I was into soccer when I was in high school, but not so much anymore. I'm not into baseball or anything like that. I like to play volleyball in the summer, but really there's nothing that I watch or like enjoy with friends or anything. And so to hear that this show, everybody was raving about it, I was like, I recognize that everybody loves this show, but I just don't think it would be for me. And one of those reasons was because of the sports aspect of it. The
Mhm.
other aspect of it was that I knew that Ted, this this guy was incredibly positive, like overly positive. And I thought it was almost going to be like satirical. Like I thought that he was going to be just obnoxiously positive. And anyone who knows me on like a personal level or has seen enough of our podcast knows that I'm a little bit cynical. I'm a little bit more like world weary, I think. And I think that I get kind of annoyed with things that are too optimistic or positive. And I know that's painting myself in a really bad light,
And
but
again, I'm starting to wonder how we're friends. What is
I
going
know.
on? Go on.
But well, we balance each other out, right? Like so so I'm like I'm just like I don't think I would enjoy this character who's just obnoxiously positive, and I don't know if I would like the sports aspect of it. It wasn't until I started hanging out with one of my friends from church a lot, and he was playing music from the show while we were working out, or he would like talk about some of the characters, and he would just keep recommending this show. He's like, it's probably my favorite show of all time. I gotta like you have to watch it. And it wore me down to the point where I was like, maybe I do need to watch it. Like maybe I just don't get it. And so, or maybe I'm like wrong in some way. And so I told him, I'm like, I really don't like sports though. Like, whatever, maybe I can handle the main character, but I'm just not into the whole sports thing. And he's like, no, you don't understand. The show isn't about soccer. Like, soccer is happening in the background. The show is about the characters and their character arcs and their growth and the themes. That's what the show is about. And I'm like, okay, I think I can start to see the pieces fitting together. And so I started watching it. I got Apple Plus, and from the first episode, I was so hooked. I texted my friend and I was like, "Man, all these months you have been so right and I have been so wrong, and I am so in for this show." And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it was kind of funny because it's like there's kind of a meta to the show, right? Like Ted in the show is winning over the hearts of all these people he comes into contact with. And the show has done extremely well. It is quite literally won over the hearts of America.
It's got
Or like,
awards, it's
yeah,
critically acclaimed, and yeah, very highly rated.
yeah. And the funny meta for me was that I'm going into this show pre dispositioned to not like it. And everybody in the show is going into this story with Ted predispositioned to not like him. He shows up and everybody hates him. And
Those
I can't.
initial press conferences, man,
Oh, they
they
were
were great.
tough. And yeah, and so I'm not going into the show like hating him, but I'm going in knowing that I might have a hard time with this character. I might have a hard time with this show. And little by little, just like he wins over everybody in Richmond, he won over me.
There you go.
And man,
Good story.
what a great experience. What a
O
fantastic experience.
okay, so, let's work our way through some of these. characters that we've come to value, love, hate, whichever perspective on these various characters we're talking about. And we'll talk about the story, the show as we do it. But it has to start with the title character, of course. So Ted Lasso, right there. Jason Sudeikis plays Ted Lasso, and I connected with this character because anyone who knows me knows I am a ridiculously optimistic and positive person. I will find the silver lining in every situation. And it doesn't matter. I'm one of those people that carries my weather around with me. Okay. The circumstances are not what's going to bring me down. I'm going to choose to stay up and stay positive. And other people sometimes will look at that and go, you're not being realistic, dude. Come on. And no, life is too short to be gloomy, is my perspective on things. Sure. But it is not always realistic then.
Yeah.
Everybody's got tough days. Everybody has things that are happening that maybe aren't the best. So as I'm getting to know Ted Lasso, it was causing me to reflect on myself, see some of what I do in how he's doing things. And I've had some similar results. I mean, I haven't won any major soccer trophies, but I did coach soccer successfully when I did not know the rules years ago.
Nice.
I've done that. But, causing others around you to start being more positive just because you will not relent in being positive and helping others see the better. Yes, I get that. I do that. And yet he has some dark things in his past that he's not, when the show starts, that he's not addressing. He's just choosing not to think about. Okay. Yeah. I get that too.
It's a double-edged sword.
My past is not 100% rosy. There's no reason. I mean, I'm a person of faith. I attribute it to God that I can have a very rosy and fun, optimistic perspective. That's who I am. It's not just by my bootstraps that I chose to be positive.
Right.
But there are plenty of reasons I could be down in the dumps and negative too. And there are some things from my past that I just don't think about much. And it's true. Maybe I should be seeing someone like Ted finally did. I was thinking these things. And any show that gets you to think like that, and become reflective off of just art, is a good show.
Yeah. Ted as a character absolutely had a similar effect on me, where I came away from the show, not that I treat people like horribly or anything, but I came away from the show thinking, I want to treat people kinder and with more, like giving the benefit of the doubt more. And Ted Lasso as a character had such a hugely positive impact on me, to where I'm like, it made me realize, I mentioned at the beginning that I tend to be more on the cynical or skeptical side. And I came away from the show thinking, I need to be more positive. I need to have a better attitude about things when things are tough. And Ted shows that throughout all of his adversity in that first season, and really throughout the whole show. But you look at that first season, and Ted is at every moment of every day through almost the entire first season, he is faced with someone saying, you suck, you suck, you suck, over and over and over and over. And he absolutely refuses
They do not create his identity.
Yeah. Yep. He refuses to give up his morals. He refuses to kind of feed into that, I guess. He's like, man, you keep hurting me, and I'm just going to treat you amazing. I'm going to bring you cookies every single day.
Yeah.
Every
you wanted to be more
morning.
Like Ted. Have you started cooking cookie biscuits to bring people in little pink boxes yet?
That was so funny.
You don't want to poison them.
when we when we finally found out that he was actually cooking them himself.
Yes. I was like, of course he is.
Yeah, of course he is.
Yeah, something about Ted that I love about this character, he's brought over here as this guy who's never coached professional football, soccer. Let's
Mhm.
just call it football moving forward because that's what the show does.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it's
we'll
the
do that.
real football. He's never coached football. He doesn't
Yeah.
know anything about football. And it's true. He never denies that. What he does is he knows people. And truly, that's the more important thing that coaches, especially at high levels, need to know.
Yeah.
Going back to the championship Chicago Bulls when they won three-peat and three-peat, their coach was just a good coach. He wasn't a brilliant coach. Phil Jackson, though, he knew people. He
Yeah.
knew how to use the tools within him, and he knew how to keep giving Michael Jordan the ball. That
Mm.
helped a lot.
Yeah.
But he knew how to work with people. He was brilliant at that. That's what Ted Lasso does. And
Mm.
it's not just he knows how to use people,
Yeah.
he cares about people.
Yeah.
And his genuine care for them is greater than, and he says it's greater than whether we win a game.
Yeah.
That's secondary. And his belief, his core belief, and I 100% buy into this as a life principle. If you care enough about the people, everything else will work out.
Yeah. That's so true.
Competency helps. You need to be competent with what you're doing. You can't be an idiot.
Yeah.
But the people are what's going to help everything work. So care for the people, and the rest will take care of itself.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I just watched that episode yesterday where he's having his little interview in season 1 with Trent Krim, and he's like, "Look, win or lose, like winning would be awesome, but like I care about these boys. I want them to live the best life they possibly can. I want them to feel good about themselves. I want to support them and turn them into the best young men that I possibly can." And that's kind of the moment that Trent Krim comes around on him. And also the way that Ted treats, in that same scene, the guy that was his, I think, taxi driver in the first episode. And he's like, "Oh, I own a restaurant." And he's like, "You should come by." And Ted's like, "I will."
I will.
And
he does.
And he does. And the guy even asked him, like, "Why are you here?" He's like, "Because I said I would come." And it's just everything about him
And he's
is
eating that
so,
hot food.
yes,
And it's
that
just
was,
killing him. And he's like,
yeah,
because he
that
cares
was
about the guy.
that was one of the things that really did it for Trent. Was he even wrote it down. It was like he cared so much about respecting this family's establishment and their culture and their food that he went above and beyond and like ate all this really spicy food that he could have returned to the kitchen. Like, man, it's so good. So good.
Yeah. So it's not the order I planned to talk about it, but you mentioned
Sure.
him. I'm going to jump to many ways. Trent
Okay.
Krim.
Dude.
Okay. Here's this hard nose um, investigative reporter. This is the guy who's used to finding the dirt and printing the truth. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter who it hurts, doesn't matter what the impact is. He has these standards. He will find what is out there and he will put it out there because the people deserve to know. And you get that sense he's a little above the other reporters.
Mm-hmm.
He's the creme de la creme. He's the one they all would like to be. And he wants to destroy Ted Lasso at the
Yeah.
beginning because this guy is an imbecile and
Yep.
shouldn't be here. And I'm going to get that whole story out. And the deeper he looks, the more he can't help
Yep.
being changed by it. He's still right. And he knows
Yeah.
it. He's still right. This guy does not belong here coaching this team.
Right.
But he's such an incredible human being
Yeah.
that I can't hate this guy. I can't help but like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the season, ends up blowing up his whole career because he leaks information
Yeah.
that he shouldn't have. Because, the story's got to run. The truth has to be told. But you deserve to know, man.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
And then what goes on to happen with his character the rest of the way, I loved it. I loved Trent Krim and all the things they did with him through seasons 2 and 3.
Yep. Yeah. Trent Krim, I was saying for a long time, was my number one favorite character. Because I can never, for some reason I can never choose the main character as my favorite character. So Trent Krim was my favorite character for a while, and it's changed. And we'll talk about my favorite in a little bit, I'm sure.
It'll be interesting to see if we end up having the same favorite.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll get there though. Yeah.
But Trent is, like, without a doubt in my top 3. Like, if Ted Lasso isn't my number 2, then Trent Krim is my number 2. Like, I love this character so much, and I think that he had such an amazing journey, and watching him little by little, the moment that Ted Lasso won over Trent Krim, I just had the biggest smile on my face, because I liked him as, this kind of dickish reporter. Like, I even liked that character because I thought he's just a well-written character. But when he started to change and we started to get onto Ted's side, and then, like you said, everything that happens through 2 and 3, where Trent has this really good story arc with what was his name? Colin.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go next. So let me jump to that.
Okay.
One of the key things that shows that growth with Trent Krim, expertly played by James Lance, by the way. I'll throw in names.
Oh, nice.
When we see he has truly been changed, not just kind of changed, truly changed, is when they focus on the storyline with Colin Hughes, one of the football players played by Billy Harris, who has been struggling because he's in the closet. He's gay, but he's terrified that anybody will find out. Right. And Trent finds out. He sees it, but he sees it and catches on early because Trent is gay. And we don't know that before this point either.
Right.
And instead of blowing up a scoop, a great story,
and it sets it up to make it look like he's about to.
It makes you think. He basically takes him under his wing.
Yeah.
And says the things Colin needs to hear.
Yeah.
And that was a Ted Lasso moment.
Yeah.
That's where he is being a good
influenced
person.
by Ted Lasso. Like, that's the it's so good.
Loved that. I also loved, since we're talking about Colin Hughes now, okay, the storyline that they did brilliantly between him and, at that time, team captain Isaac McAdoo, played by Kola Bokini, where everybody, when Colin comes out to his teammates, everybody's fine with it.
Yeah, except Isaac.
But Isaac is mad. And in the end, we finally get to why he's mad, and I loved this.
Yeah.
He wasn't mad that you lied. He wasn't mad that you're gay. He's mad that you didn't feel you could trust me to tell me.
Yeah. Yep.
That was one of those moments of,
yeah. Oh, that was brutal. Yeah.
And then they got past it. And they're, yes.
Yeah.
And of course, when Isaac on the pitch goes off on that other, I think it was a fan, who called a slur at Colin, not knowing,
Yeah. Right.
And Isaac goes up and gets himself kicked out. I mean, that whole thing was like, I think I know what's going on in his mind right now.
Yep.
But let's see where they take it. And they took it where I hoped they would. That was great.
Yeah, same. I love that whole I love that whole storyline. And yeah, the thing with Isaac, I went back and forth on it a couple times. I was like, what if Isaac is
he genuinely a homophobe?
Right. Yeah. Is that what's going on here? And they're gonna and he's gonna be booted off the team or something, or is it this thing where he's just upset that Colin didn't talk to him about it? And I'm glad that
and again, not just that he lied about it or wouldn't, kept a secret.
Right.
It's that you didn't trust me.
Yeah.
You thought I would judge you.
Yeah.
How could you think that of me? That's what made him so mad.
Yeah. That I loved the scene later on when Isaac goes over to Colin's place and they're hanging out playing a video game, and he's just asking him all these questions about being gay.
It was great. And basically, we're gonna be okay here.
Yeah.
And we can even joke about it.
Right.
That's good. That's healthy.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
One of many excellent plot lines throughout the story. So let me jump us back and talk about Rebecca
Rebecca?
Welton, played
Yeah.
by Hannah Waddingham. Got to get the
Hmm.
names right. I'd never seen her before the show, but now I see her popping up in other things.
Oh,
I
okay.
know she was. This is not her first show ever, but I
Yeah.
think most of her stuff before was across the pond, and now
Right.
her audience is broadening because she's been very successful on a very
Yeah.
successful show.
Yeah.
But her journey is fantastic because she brings Ted over to destroy her ex-husband's favorite thing, and
Yeah.
she could care less about this.
Yep.
And yet, man, I mean,
Ma
she's got baggage, she has
Yeah.
issues, and Ted does the Ted Lasso thing on her too. She can't
Yep.
help but be worn down by this.
Yep. I
I loved her character. I loved so many things. I mean, her and the relationship she has with uh
Rupert.
nope,
Oh.
right
Oh,
here,
Keely.
Keely.
Yep.
That's magic. Her relationship with her assistant Leslie. Uh
Mhm.
there's so many good things in here. We'll get to Rupert. That one's coming up.
Oh, yeah.
But I loved the journey. I also loved how I think it was only 3 times that she went down to Ted's office
Hmm.
and talked to him one on one. And each time it's like dropping a bomb.
Yep.
And the first 2 times, ooh, the last one it was a good thing.
Yeah.
But
Man.
anyways,
Uh,
thoughts on Rebecca?
yeah, that was easily my Rebecca's whole like character arc and all of her storylines that took very different shapes along the way. Like it wasn't just like this one thing that you could kind of follow. She like went in a lot of different directions and did a
Yes,
lot of things.
she's
Um,
complex.
yeah, any of her storylines and through lines, I were easily some of my favorites. Like high favorites for sure. Um, like you said, when Ted when Ted gets out there, she's hell bent on destroying him. And there is nothing more satisfying.
Destroying the team. He'll be the
Yeah,
victim, and she
yes.
doesn't care. He's there to be used. But
Right.
it's not
Yeah, I
really
see what you're saying.
personal.
Right.
She
Yeah.
doesn't hate Ted.
Yeah, she doesn't hate Ted, but she wants to use him to destroy everything
She
else.
hates that
And
Ted's being successful. Yeah.
right. Yeah. And I just love like she even in the beginning she tries to get a picture of him and Keely together to make it look like they were having some sort of affair or something.
Mhm. Mhm.
And she even has to um you know there's a series of events that kind of get the picture like kind of
She has to backpedal a bit,
yeah, exactly.
but not
And
because she cared about Ted at that
right.
point.
Yeah, it
It
was
was
just
she
like a
was gonna get
strategic.
caught was the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, it was a strategic thing. But even then further down the line, there's a point where so the picture doesn't get posted um outside of her wishes.
Yep.
And then somewhere in the middle, she starts to really like Ted. And I think it's around the time, I think it's the charity auction or something where Rupert shows up and she kind of has a breakdown and Ted like consoles her and she's like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, like this is a good guy. Why am I doing this? And then Keely finds out that she was going to post the picture
She
and
was
she's like,
behind it, yes.
yeah, she's like, you have to tell Ted. And she's like, no, we're fine now. Like, I'm not going to post the picture. Like, I don't want to post the picture. I've changed. Like, let's just forget it ever happened. And Keely's the one saying, no, you need to tell Ted. And she fights with it for a long time. And one of my favorite scenes in the entire show, I talk about it with my friend that got me into the show all the time, is the scene where, like you said, it's one of the bombs. She goes down to his office and tells him about this thing that she was going to do, and that her whole plan was to ruin this Premier League. And Ted looks at her, and you like even as the viewer, like I didn't know how he was going to respond. Like I know who he is as a person and I had a feeling,
Mhm.
but I was like is he going to like,
Is
what's he
this going
gonna
to be the one
do?
bridge too
Yeah,
far?
yeah, exactly. The one bridge too far. And he like calmly like stands up and forgives her. And he like goes to like shake her hand and she like hugs him and they like hug and cry together. And like top in my top 5 favorite scenes for the show. Like I love it so
Yeah.
much.
In season 1, he beautifully demonstrates the power of forgiveness
Yeah.
and the true understanding of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not a feeling.
Right.
Forgiveness is a choice.
Yep.
You choose to forgive someone. Um, you don't have to feel like, oh, it's no problem. And
Yeah.
honestly, when you forgive someone, it should still be a problem.
Yeah.
It's like just because someone said I'm sorry doesn't mean what they did went away.
Yeah.
It's
And,
still there. The impact is still real. You
yeah.
choose to forgive them so we can move on.
Yeah.
And you are letting it go when you forgive.
Yeah, that's what he tells Jamie. He's like, "You need to." I think it was about Jamie's dad. He's like, "You need to forgive your dad, and not because he deserves it, not because he like has earned forgiveness, but because you need to let it go, and it'll be better for you."
Yeah, Jamie's
And
dad, man, piece of work.
woo, man,
Ooh, we'll get to that. We'll
oh
get to that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I want to move on to talking about Rupert.
yeah.
Rupert Mannion, played by Anthony Head, who I adore as an actor. This is the
Hmm.
first time I remember seeing him as the bad guy. I
Oh
loved
really?
him since he was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, what
You
did he
know,
play there?
oh, he was the Guardian, the Watcher. What was he
Oh,
called?
okay.
He was the one who trained Buffy, and he
Oh,
was
okay.
there to guard her, to support her in her work of killing vampires. You have never watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I've seen a couple episodes. I need to watch it. I liked what I saw. I need to watch. I need to keep
He
going.
was the original. Then a number of seasons through, he basically retires. He's done, and a new guy comes in. But he
Okay.
was the original. He was excellent. Loved it. To see him on this and this such a brilliant scumbag
Yes.
was delightful.
Oh
And he
man.
manipulates Rebecca so skillfully. And
Yeah.
it's not until finally it's season 3 really where she can finally move past it.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah, that
got her
was a
number.
long.
He knows how to push each button again and again. Oh, you have to hate him.
Yeah. And it's funny because like you spend so much time with Rebecca and you see her as this very strong and kind of fierce woman who can take on anything. And then as soon as, and it just speaks to the level of acting in the show. Like all of the actors in the show are top notch. And as soon as Rupert walks into the room, you can tell that she just kind of like not necessarily cowers, but you can tell there's a little bit of like anxiety and a little
Yeah.
bit of
Good
like,
word.
yeah, oh man, it's so well played.
Yeah, and we see Rebecca's journey of redemption, going from where she started, so negative, so poised to just be poison,
Hmm.
and to be such a wonderful person, and
Oh
now
man.
transforming others' lives for the better.
Yeah.
Rupert has the same opportunities, and he rejects them.
Yeah,
He's gonna
that's true.
stay being who he is. And in the end, I mean, the dude is miserable and ruined,
Mhm.
basically. Everybody knows he's scum now.
Yeah,
That's the choice he makes. That's the bed he wanted to lie in, and it's all his.
right.
So he
Ah,
gets what he
man.
has coming.
Yeah, he's a great villain though. He's one of the, we talk about it all the time on our channel when we're talking about various books and stuff that we love the characters that we love to hate. Like
Yes.
there are some
Yes.
characters that you don't hate them because they're not written well. You don't hate them because of whatever. You hate them
You hate them because they're written well.
because they're written well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, he was just one of those guys that just every time you see him, you want to punch his face. Like, yeah.
Totally. Totally. But you won't because he'll sue your butt.
Yeah,
Dude is
yeah,
rich.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next character, Leslie Higgins, or Leslie. I think it's more with the Z. Leslie
Mhm.
Higgins, the director of football operations. who starts out, played by Jeremy Swift, played very, very well again. Starts out as a tool, man. He's just there to be used, and he
Yeah.
has no agency of his own. And he's a whipping boy. He's a kicked dog. He
Yeah.
he wants to do his job, but he knows his job is not really to do anything helpful because he
Yeah.
knows what Rebecca's doing pretty
Right.
early on, and yet he really likes Ted.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting watching him play both sides of the fence for a
Yeah, yeah.
while. Yeah.
What's really nice, and I mean, and it gets to the point where, he's gone for an episode. You know, he's not the job. He doesn't have the job anymore. He's canned. He's gone. And yet he gets brought back in pretty quick.
Hmm.
But I love the layers we get to see of him as the show progresses.
Yeah.
A little bit of beatnik, playing the instrument, a little cool jazz. His
Oh, that's
family
right,
is
yeah.
great. I really enjoyed him as a character.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have too much to say about Leslie. I liked him as a character. I don't know if I like paid that much attention to him along the way. For me, he was kind of a excuse me. For me, he was kind of a comic relief, comedy a little bit. Yeah, I actually don't remember the episode where he left, so I don't know what
Yeah,
season that
yeah.
would have been in or
Because
anything.
Rebecca ends up going to his house, and she's never been to his house.
Mm.
And this is where she finds him playing his bass. Was it bass he was playing? That his
Oh,
instrument?
yeah,
I think
yeah.
it is. And she's like sees a whole different side, and his wife and 5 kids, and it's like,
Mhm.
whoa. And she's there to ask him to come back.
Right.
But we see a totally different side to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he had basically gone against her and supported Ted on something against her wishes, and she let him go. That's not gonna work.
Right. Right.
But she comes back for him because she's so guilt-ridden,
Yeah.
realizing he was right.
Right.
Yeah. So
I did love the episode where he's in Amsterdam and he's got the new Kit Boy and he's
yes.
like he keeps making like sexual innuendo. And he's like,
It's
tonight's the night
great.
you become a man. And he's like, we're going to the red district and all this stuff, the red light
That was
district.
a fun episode. That
Yeah,
really was.
I loved the Amsterdam episode.
Man, when
And
when when we're gonna talk about this coming up still, these are characters we're getting to next, but the whole Jamie and Roy with
oh,
the
so good.
bicycles
So
and the
good.
windmills, it's like, that was so good. But
Yeah.
the relationship that they're developing through that, so
Yeah.
good. So
So
let's move to that. Jamie Tart, played by Phil Dunster, starts out as the one that so many teams have. He's the egotistical, it's all about me guy.
yep.
And they start off portraying him that way, where undeniable, the dude is a talent.
Yeah.
Also undeniable, he knows it.
Yeah.
And you all need to just give me the ball and do what I need, and none of you are as important as me. His
Right.
ego is huge, and it was wonderful to see how they handled a character like this.
Yeah.
First, of course, he gets traded away or given back.
Yeah.
One of Rebecca's plans to blow up the team,
Right.
which she then regrets doing. But seeing his issues with being on a different team, issues with his dad, issues with his mom, there's pressures and stuff behind everything he's done, and then the growth journey he goes on, much of it thanks to Roy and Keeley.
Yep.
Not to mention the sex triangle there, but that's another thing.
Yeah.
What do you think? What are your thoughts on Jamie?
Jamie was definitely a favorite of mine. I, of course, hated him at first, and I thought for sure, like, I'm not
Just like we're supposed to.
Yeah. And honestly, he was one of those characters, most characters I can look at and be like, okay, I can see some sort of redemption arc for them. And
Not
Jamie,
this
Jamie was the one that I looked at and I'm like, oh, so he's the villain. Like there is no redemption for him.
He's the one who will fight against everything Ted does and blow it up
Yeah.
from within. Yeah.
Yeah. And to watch him change little by little after like he kind of learns how to play with the team and like be a part of a team, and he learns how to um, just be like more considerate of others. I think the team player aspect is really what snowballed him into his big character arc, because like you said, I liked the way they handled his character, because Ted mentions um several times, he's like, look, you are undeniably our best player, like there's no question about that. And he uses Jamie in the way that you would use a star player. But I feel like a lot of movies, like maybe if this show had been made like 10 or 15 years ago, it would have been like, let's dunk on the star player and just get him off the team. And that would have been like the storyline. But it's like, no, he has a purpose on this team. He just needs to know how to play with everybody else.
Yes.
And so I love that they, in equal measure, they were able to bring down his pride while also elevating him as a player.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I love how by the end of it, there's that point where they realize it's after Ted learns about like free form soccer or whatever that is, like total football.
Yeah.
And it's they're trying to figure out how to like rotate all the players in and out, because nobody really has a position anymore. And they realize, oh no, Jamie needs to be at the center of the circle and everybody needs to rotate around him. And it doesn't necessarily mean that he's the one shooting the goal. It just means that he's like the conductor, like he's directing
Yes.
everybody.
Yes. And it works
And
brilliantly when they figure that out.
oh man, I loved it so much. And then I loved it when he finally like at the beginning they have this play where they're like, Jamie's gonna be the decoy, and he's like, you're gonna use me as
He
the
really struggles
decoy?
with that at first. He
Yeah.
really
Oh,
does.
he's like so upset about it. And then
That's
in the
before they went into total football mode. That's
yeah,
earlier.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
way before. And then I think it's in the last episode, or maybe the second to last episode, there's a moment where Ted like kind of enacts that play again, and Jamie does it so willingly, and he like goes in and he's the decoy. He's not even like the one shooting the goal at all. And those were the moments where I'm just like, and there was a million other moments,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
those were the moments where I was like, yes, like let's do
It's a
it.
huge growth moment for him. And this
Yeah.
is true in life. When he realizes he can be successful by helping someone else succeed.
Yeah. Yep.
When I'm the reason someone else was able to shine, I own part of that.
Right.
It doesn't have to all be about me.
Yeah.
I've helped someone else rise.
Yep.
Yes, I win.
Yes,
That
exactly.
it's so simple and yet so beyond a lot of people. And it
Yeah.
was beyond him at the beginning.
Yeah. And sorry, real quick before we move on. I just loved watching his maturity as well. At the beginning of the show, we get like a very juvenile and very like like kind of like personality. And then as the show goes on, especially with his interactions with Roy and Keeley, we see him like calm down a lot, and he's
Become
not.
more real.
Yeah, and he's not like reacting to things in like this violent or excessive manner. He's kind of like sitting back and like thinking about what he's going to say as like before he says it. And I think the actor did such a phenomenal job with that, just in his facial expressions and his body language. In the beginning, he's very like chest forward and like very cocky. And as the season goes on, he gets a little bit more like, not like
Relax.
cowardly, but like a little more like relaxed, a little bit more just chill. And I think the actor, I forget his name,
Phil
uh,
Dunster.
Phil Dunster, did a fantastic job with that.
Really
And
did.
then my favorite scene with him was one where he wasn't even really saying anything, but it was when his dad came in, and his dad was like, I think it was after the game in the second season when they lost, and his dad came in and he's like berating him in front of everybody and saying like, you all suck, and like, oh, it must be terrible to be such an amateur league or whatever. And finally, Jamie just has enough and he punches him. And Beard comes in and he like grabs the dad and like smacks his head against the door on the way out. He's like, all right, out with you.
And basically,
And
we have your back, Jamie.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Jamie just like starts to cry. And it's this moment. And like Roy goes up and hugs him for the first time. And oh, what a fantastic scene.
Beautiful segue. Next, we
Yes.
talk about Brett Goldstein's portrayal of Roy Kent, my favorite character from the show.
Me too. Yes.
Yes. Oh. Roy.
Yeah.
Roy Kent.
He's there. He's everywhere.
Guys, so well. You know, he's portrayed in the beginning as the skillful but aged soccer football player on the team.
Yeah.
He brings credibility to the team, gobs of experience. He was the Jamie Tart of his day, but his day is past. And he's nearing the end of his career. And he's not doing well with that. But Ted helps him through it. As does Keeley in some interesting ways there. But it was great to see him go from the angry, bitter, almost washed up player to what he is at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, a successful coach, a brilliant person who, again, like Ted, now gets people.
Yeah.
And he's going to care about the people and let the results happen. Oh, man, what a journey for this guy. And he was just so fun. I love Roy. Every scene Roy's in, delightful, including the whole bit, and my memory's slipping, the dog thing. What was that called when they'd get together?
The Diamond Dogs.
Diamond Dogs. Thank you. Thank you. I loved and how they slowly suck Roy into the Diamond Dogs.
Yeah.
It was like, outside his comfort zone, man, but he comes. He gets there.
Yeah. Every now and then he'll just like kind of like walk in on like a Diamond Dogs meeting and like
turn around,
he'll like
walk out.
Yeah, he'll like ask something and they'll start to answer and he'll leave, or he'll like ask something and they'll go, oh, and then he'll like walk out.
But I love how many times that happens where all he does is walk out to his office, which is on the other side of the partition.
Yeah.
And he still participates. He won't look at them, but he'll say something that they all can hear. You know, he's still there. He just won't admit he's there.
Technically can't be there. Yeah.
That's great. The Diamond Dogs thing was just a lot of fun.
Oh man, I love this character so much. Roy Kent is undoubtedly my spirit animal. He I loved I loved his foul mouth and how not only his foul mouth, but just how creative he was with his swearing.
And
it was always
niece?
What?
Was it his niece that he spends time with?
Yeah.
You know, and dealing with the foul mouth bit was kind of part of the humor between him and her too.
Oh, dude. It was so great. And she had like a swear jar that was racking up to like over 1,200 pounds. Crazy. And then like when he was coaching the team, he was like he's like
her team.
Her team. Brilliant. Yeah. He was like, you bunch of little pricks. And then like the teacher was like, you can't say that to fifth graders or whatever they were.
The kids are eating up. They were loving him as a coach.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love this character so much. Like not only his growth. I mean, I think that speaks for itself. He has an incredible character arc, but he has so many specific scenes. Like I just like you, I loved every scene he was in, but there's so many moments where I'm just like, dang, that was well done. Like that was so well done. Like him and Jamie in Amsterdam on the bike. That was fantastic. Yep. Anything with him and Keeley was fantastic. Him and the teacher of his niece, I forget her
little
name.
Sexual tension there.
Yeah,
it didn't go anywhere.
I know. I was kind of hoping it would. I was like, oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, he stole the show in every single scene he was in, and he was just fantastic along the way. And he had so many moments where, like I have a couple notes on him. he's like talking to the press, and they're asking about
Mm,
Isaac, who like assaulted the guy in the stands. And
yep,
he has this fantastic monologue
he
where
does.
he's like, back in the day, I was younger, and there was this other guy on the team, and he said something about his kid, and he was like, well, I know that like the odds are high that you're not the father or something. And the guy beat the crap out of him, and Roy went to go apologize months and months and months later, only to find out that like days before he made that joke, they had actually lost their daughter.
Right.
And so it's this whole moment where he's like, and the whole room is silent while he's telling this story.
Yep.
It's such a good scene. And
And
he's like,
basically, you don't know what might be going on.
yeah, he's like,
So reserve
uh,
judgment.
yeah, he's like, the fans come to these and they pay money for these tickets, expecting to be able to do and say whatever they want, but they forget that these aren't just football players; they're actually people as well. Um,
Yep.
but
Yep.
my favorite quote from him is this moment with Rebecca and Keeley, and it's after Rebecca's kind of dating this guy for a while, and he's kind of like boring. He's like not quite doing it for her, and they go on this double date together,
Yeah, that was
and
great.
she like kind of
Roy
kisses.
tells it like it is, man. He
He
does.
tells it like it is. Can I? The quote has a lot of swearing in it. Can I read it?
I
Okay.
don't swear. You may.
Okay. So Roy, so Rebecca and Keeley are kind of going back and forth, like, yeah, he's good. He's good. He's great. Like, he's financially stable, all this stuff. And Roy's like, for crying out loud, like, just tell her the truth. And everybody kind of looks at him like, what? And the actual quote is, he's fine. That's it. Nothing wrong with fine. Most people are fine. It's not about him. It's about why the fuck you think he deserves you. You deserve someone who makes you feel like you've been struck by fucking lightning. Don't you dare settle for fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, like
Yeah.
I have watched that scene over and over and over because it is such a good monologue, and I just love him so
Yep.
much, and he becomes the best character.
All right. Let me move on
Yeah,
to
go ahead.
Keeley,
Yeah.
who is not one of my favorite characters. I enjoy her, but I also was annoyed by her and some of her story plot.
Okay,
So
yeah.
Keely's okay. Certainly, I like the role she plays in Roy's story arc, in Jamie's story arc, in Rebecca's story arc, but her own story arc,
Yeah.
not really my favorite part of the show. It was just okay.
Yeah, for me, I think she was I liked her more than Leslie, but I think that she was also kind of the comic relief. Like for me, it wasn't her storyline or like her.
Oh, but they gave time for that whole thing where she goes into her own business and
Yeah,
episodes featuring that and focusing on that. I'm like,
I didn't understand what that was about at all. I was like, okay, I just really didn't get it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why they did that. But
so you're
I
saying waste of screen time. They could have given us better during those
yeah,
moments.
they could have given us more Roy Kent with his amazing monologue.
Right. Just
Um
grunt for us, Roy. That'd be
yeah.
better.
But yeah, I thought she was great. Like I really
Nothing about
did.
the actress. I mean,
Oh,
she
for sure.
performed this role amazingly.
Oh yeah,
Juno
fantastic.
Temple is her name.
Juno
Yeah, she was
Temple.
fantastic.
Yeah, I think the scenes I enjoyed her in the most was when she was being funny, and I think those scenes were absolutely worth it. And like I wouldn't have traded her for anyone else, but I just didn't feel the same connection with her that I did with like Roy or
Yeah.
Jamie or Ted or
Again, I enjoyed her in the interactions with the other main characters. The
yes,
stuff
yeah,
that was focused just on her,
right,
that didn't interest me as much.
yeah,
Didn't
I'd
didn't
echo
feel it.
that. Yep, ditto.
Let's talk about Coach Beard.
Yes.
What a character. Oh my goodness. He he makes no sense at first. He's just there
Yeah.
with Ted, and why is he there with Ted? I mean, we
Yeah.
get Ted. Why is he there?
Mhm.
But the relationship they have, the banter, the inside jokes all the way through just killed me. I love
Yeah.
Coach Beard. Not to
Yeah.
mention that one really weird episode that focuses on
Yes.
Beard. Oh my goodness. That was he's a great character.
That was
I really
incredible.
enjoy him. And they do get a little deep in season 3 with him finally.
Yeah.
So we get to see more there.
Yeah.
Like that he has a first name. We do
Yeah.
learn Willis is his
Yep.
first name. We learned that in season 3.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you also enjoyed Coach Beard?
Yeah, I love Coach Beard to death. He's a great character. At first, I loved him right from the beginning, but I did
Yeah.
feel like he was going to be kind of like a surface level character because he's such a he's not cold, but well, I don't know, maybe he is, but he's such a reserved person where I was like, how could we possibly get in depth with this character? But I enjoyed him every step along the way. I felt like him and Ted felt like they had been best friends for like their whole lives. Like they really came off that way from the first scene of them on the airplane where like he sits behind
Yeah.
he sits behind Ted. He's like they're like both about to pass out for this long flight. And I forget which one of them says it, but like, hey, if we both fall asleep on this plane and we like end up in each other's dreams, like, do you want to fool around a little? And so there was just like this hilarious, like, right. That's like one of the first scenes in the entire show. And so it sets up this great banter between the two of them
good
for
stuff.
the whole thing. And then, like you said, he has great moments. He has this whole like trippy episode where he meets up with the guys from the bar, like the trio, and he gets them into like this really exclusive
That's
club.
the one I was talking about. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that one was crazy. And then we finally get a really fantastic moment with him near the end of the 3rd season where he goes and forgives Nate. And he shows up at his apartment and he has a whole monologue that was fantastic as well. Nate doesn't say a word. It's just Coach Beard on the screen. And
again, he's choosing to forgive Nate.
Right.
And he gives the whole monologue, the whole rationale behind his thoughts, but that's all demonstrating how Ted has changed his life.
Right.
And therefore, I'm going to change yours right now.
Yep.
Kind of thing.
100%. And
I still hate you.
Yeah,
I'm going to do this.
Yeah, but I'm going to do this. Yeah, I loved his whole kind of backstory he gave where he had known Ted in high school and they'd played ball together. I can't remember if it was football or what. But they kind of like separated for a while and Coach Beard ended up in prison over like a meth thing.
Made bad choices.
Yeah. And he like showed up at Ted's house or looked up Ted basically after he got out and he's like, I need help. And Ted brought him in, he fed him and he housed him, all this stuff. And then Coach Beard
takes
steals
advantage
his
of
car.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he like he runs
Ted's
off with
there.
it. And Ted comes in and tells the cops, no, I gave him my car. And it's like, oh my God, the relationship between these two. And so then Beard basically says, because he forgave me, like I should then extend that to you, which if that's not the most Christian message I've ever heard.
Based on this show, I did a devotion at a meeting I was running on Ted Lasso. There's so much you can draw from here as a believer. Yeah. Okay, I want to give a shout out to just 3 other characters and then talk deep about one last one.
Okay.
So the shout out, 3 other characters that had good moments, played significant ways. We got Danny Rojas, played by Cristo Fernandez. I love this character. He's so positive. Football is life until he kills the dog. That whole thing was great. And then the scene where, the episode where he goes and plays for his own team. And now you are dead to me. You know,
Yeah. That
so
was
good.
wild. Yeah.
He was fun.
Yeah.
Sam Obasanya,
Obasanya.
you
Yeah.
know, that whole thing, the Nigerian element, the Ghana guy that wants to come in and basically buy
That
him,
was wild. That was
the
a wild
relationship
storyline.
with Rebecca, you
Yeah.
know, his restaurant, his dad. He has the best dad
Yeah.
ever. Sam was delightful. Okay,
Yeah.
so we love Sam.
He was great.
The psychologist, Sharon Fieldstone, Dr. Fieldstone, that was an interesting character. They
Yeah.
used her to do some of the deeper things in the
Yeah.
show. Well done. Good
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah.
Uh, even as Ted works his magic a little bit on her too.
Yeah.
But she
Yeah.
does more for Ted than
Yeah.
Ted does for her.
Yeah. She was
It's
a
like,
tough nut
whoa.
to crack for sure.
And I appreciate it. This is again where I was
Yeah.
reflecting. Ted didn't want to talk to her.
Yeah.
Ted really didn't feel comfortable with her being around. We don't
Yeah.
need that sort of thing until finally he does talk to her. But I'm like, yeah, I relate to that.
Yeah.
Why would I want to talk to someone else? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
100%.
raised up the importance just in general of mental health
Yeah.
and recognizing getting help is not a bad thing. Acknowledging you aren't perfect, that you might benefit from talking from someone else, and that's okay.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up for Ted Lasso, the show.
Yeah.
But you know who we've got to talk about now. Nate Shelley. Nick
Oh.
Mohammed plays this character, and what a ride for this character. You
Oh
just want to
man.
strangle him at times. Other times you're so happy for him. I mean, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Oh my
Did
goodness.
did you know that his character was based off a real coach that went through that same thing?
I did not. I
There
did
there
not.
I forget the coach's name, but it's an easy Google.
Okay.
He's definitely based off him. There's a coach that was a kit man basically or something
Yeah.
similar and got promoted to a coach after having a great play and went through like
Went
this
right to his
whole
head.
yeah, it went right to his head and he became like this very unfortunately
Egomaniacal despot.
yeah, he didn't really have a like a redemption arc or anything, but they
Oh.
specifically Nate's whole like gray hair thing, they specifically pulled it from that guy
Oh
because
wow.
within
Wow.
like a 2 or 3 year time span or something, his hair went completely gray from the stress of the job. Um,
I love the joke they perpetuated for many, many episodes of the Wonder Kid instead of the
yeah.
Wonderkind, Wunderkind, because he did
Yeah.
say it wrong, and they nail him for it the rest of the way.
So yeah, that I guess I haven't rewatched enough to know. So when he initially said that, did he say Wonderkind or
He
did he
said
say
Wonder
Wonder?
Kid. He
Oh,
didn't know the true. He'd heard it and
right.
misunderstood what it really was.
Mm.
So he says, "I'm the Wonder Kid," and they say, "Don't you mean Wonderkind?" Yeah, yeah, that's what I said. No, that's not what you said. And they
Oh,
ran with it, and then he had to eat crow the rest of the time.
right,
But
right.
that was great. But to
Yeah.
see, all the things they did with that. When he
Mhm.
tears up the Believe poster,
Oh man.
and then when it finally comes back and there's
Mhm.
resolution on, I mean, all of that, just amazing writing,
Yeah.
great acting. Uh
There's this fantastic scene somewhere in the middle of the 3rd season, I think, where he's kind of starting to see that Rupert isn't like this great guy and that maybe he doesn't want to be the person that he's
like maybe
becoming.
when he tries to pull him away from a woman who actually cares about him.
Right. Yeah. And there's a scene where Nate and Ted end up in the same elevator and they're just like rising to the top and you can tell that Nate wants to apologize. That he wants to and then right as you can see it on his face right as he's about to like turn to him to say something, the elevator opens and they walk out. And
Yeah.
it's such a good scene because it's like, oh, you can see it starting.
Ted
Um
did just such a good job of never giving up on
mhm.
Nate.
Yeah.
He understood Nate's being pulled in different directions. He has his own stuff going on. I'm not going to take it personal.
Yeah.
I can be angry about choices he makes, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to hate Nate.
Right.
And that choice he makes is more about Ted than about
Yeah.
Nate. I'm
Yeah.
not going to be that kind of person. And he stuck to that despite everyone else around him saying, no, we
Yeah.
should kill him. We really should
Yeah.
just kill him. He
Yeah.
no, yeah.
Yeah. And even Beard, like Beard hates him like with such an intense passion. He hates Nate.
Yeah.
And it's finally maybe at that final or maybe a couple episodes for the finale um where Ted like opens up his laptop and he's like, "Hey, have you ever seen the security footage from when Nate ripped up the sign?" And it shows like all this embarrassing stuff that Nate had to do just to do that thing.
Yeah.
And that's when like Beard's heart starts to turn. And yeah, I loved Nate's story arc. It was frustrating at times
Sure.
because it was like, come on,
How can you be
dude.
so stupid, man?
Yeah. But at the same time, like I thought it was so well written. Like it's such
Yes.
a good story arc. Like if Ted's arc is the arc of a hero finding like maybe like a fallen hero finding redemption or something, Nate's arc is a villain redemption, and man, it's so well
And the
written.
power of not giving up on people.
Yeah.
Because Nate comes back to the light
Yep.
because Ted refuses to close the door.
Right.
And that's it. It's
Yeah.
just a choice that Ted makes that finally impacts others enough that Nate has a chance. And Nate finally steps into that
Yeah.
opportunity.
What did you think of Nate's relationship with Jade?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I that was such a tender and adorable side of things. His
Yeah.
persistence, his patience, and
Yeah.
finally he wears her down, but he doesn't
Yeah.
wear her down by being
Like
the
clingy and
star
yeah.
wunderkind, no,
Yeah.
by just being himself.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely. At first I really didn't like her, and I was like, why would he want her? Like, oh man, like
I
that.
liked her from the beginning. I have
I'm
to
like
admit it. I did.
I was like, she like repulses me. Like I wouldn't want to go anywhere near her. But then like as time went on, like I still don't understand why she was such a dick to him at the beginning. But as time went on, I really liked their relationship and seeing them in like their more like private moments where they're being like
Mhm.
silly or whatever. I thought those were great.
I think she was typifying the modern woman who's an attractive young lady in a business working environment and gets hit on all the time
Right.
and
Yeah.
hates it.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
true.
has learned to put on a shell and shut down hard and fast anytime somebody
Yeah.
is making an advance.
Right.
That's the
That's
only
true.
way she can tolerate being in a job these days. And it's so true for many young women like this.
Yeah. That's
The
very true.
men are obnoxious.
Yeah.
And if they don't reciprocate, then they get called a bitch. It's
Right.
like they can't win. So I got that. And maybe it's
Yeah.
because I have a daughter,
That's fair.
who's been through that and
Yeah.
has told me her experiences.
That's fair.
I think that was played well. And he
Okay.
had to really work his way through with genuineness and
Right.
really quit trying so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Let her see something for herself. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can
All right.
appreciate that much more now that you put it in that light.
Those are the characters. I mean, there's lots of other characters, but those are the ones
Sure.
I really wanted us to talk about. I think we got a lot of stuff on the show covered there.
Yeah.
Is there anything significant you really enjoyed or a theme of the show that we didn't touch on? I feel we got pretty comprehensive here, but is there something we're missing?
Yeah, I mean, as far as themes go, I think just the idea of Ted's like positivity and we've mentioned it multiple times, but him not giving up and that willingness to like not compromise who he is just because everybody else is trying to tell him who he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I really loved that, and I took away I took away something for myself from that, and from Ted's positivity and his intention of, treating everybody
Right.
with extreme kindness.
The show Ted Lasso has made some of us better people.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Good stuff.
Are, are we are we going to talk about like favorite moments, or are we like past that?
No, we can. If there's favorite moments that you want to shout out and put in there. I mean, I loved so much of the show.
Yeah.
So it's hard to come up with favorite moments I haven't already talked about. But if you
Yeah.
have some, lay it on us, sir.
So I think just like the big ones are like the dart game when he's playing darts against Rupert.
Oh man, it
And
totally crushes him.
yes, he has that fantastic monologue about like not, I guess, like not underestimating people, but also like not, instead of judging people, be like curious and ask questions like, have you ever played darts, Ted? And then I would have told you, yes, every day from the age of 10 to 16 with my father every Sunday, or whatever he said.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, it was such a great turn of events. I love that.
How about the food fight in the boardroom when they're deciding, all the rich dudes
Oh,
deciding, and Rebecca
okay.
and they start just throwing food.
Dude, this moment, I thought that this was going to be Rupert's redemption, because
Could have been.
in
It
that
could have.
scene, it could
That's
have
not where he
been.
was going.
And like this food fight happens, and him and Rebecca are the last ones standing, and they're sitting there like laughing about the whole thing. And doesn't he try to kiss her or
He
something?
does, and she
Um,
just
yeah, she's
nope.
like, whoa. But yeah, that could have been his moment. And I'm kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I should be bummed that he didn't get a redemption,
No,
but
the
I'm
fact
just,
that he went in for a kiss at that point shows
yeah.
he still didn't get it.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
still all about Rupert.
Yeah,
No,
that's true.
scumbag.
Um, and then I have the NSYNC dance when they all did the choreographed NSYNC.
Right there on the
NSYNC dance.
pitch. Yep,
Yeah, I love
that was
that.
very good.
Ted's panic attack while Rebecca sings "Let It Go."
Oh, man.
We didn't even
Have
talk
you ever
about.
had a panic attack?
No, I don't really suffer from them, but I have a lot of friends that have.
Some people do. I've had one once. And again, I'm fine. I
Yeah,
handle stress great, but your body says something different sometimes.
sure,
And
sure.
that is scary as heck. So
Yeah,
they did that really, really well, I'm going to tell you.
nice. Okay, yeah, I was wondering about that because I saw it kind of like showed one by one like all the symptoms and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I wonder how well portrayed that is. But
Rebecca could sing her butt off, though.
holy crap! Like,
Dang.
yeah. Oh man, that was awesome.
We never talked about her best friend and that
Oh,
shacking up
Sassy.
with Ted from time to time. And that whole
I
scenario was like, that was kind
Yeah.
of fun.
Yeah, I loved Sassy Smurf. She was fantastic. I thought
She
her
blows in, does some things, blows back out.
yeah, she like kind of comes and goes like the wind. And yeah, it was a little bit sad when Ted was like, "So should we date or what?" And she's like, "Nah." Like
Ah, that's not what we have. This
yeah,
is
he's like,
fun. Let's
yeah,
just do fun.
yeah. But yeah, I guess we didn't really talk about Ted's like whole divorce storyline
Yeah.
either. Like the whole
Who
thing with
was
his wife.
mad at his wife?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
mad. How
Yeah.
about at their counselor?
Yeah.
That is
Oh,
so unethical.
that
Oh
was
my
so
goodness.
messed up. Oh my gosh.
And yet, Ted moves past it.
Yeah. And I hopefully we can talk about like the end in like in a minute here, but that whole thing was super messed up. And
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I loved his reaction to it because like he was holding on to it for so long, and like for the whole like first season or whatever, however
Yeah.
long it was, he was like, no, I can fix it, I can fix it, I can fix it. And then there's this moment where she comes out and visits with her son, and they spend all this time together, and like they're trying so hard, But then by the time she leaves, it's just kind of like, it's
Yeah.
over,
He's
isn't
telling
it?
her it's
Like,
okay. It's
yeah,
okay.
and he's like, he basically says like, it's gonna suck for me, but I think that you should do whatever is gonna make you happiest. And that was a really, really emotional scene. It was really tough. But yeah, like shortly after that happens, Ted has this whole panic attack when uh Rebecca is singing Let It Go,
Mm-hmm.
and he like ends up outside. And I love this shot where like his vision is all blurry and someone's face is like coming into frame, but you can't tell who it is. And like little by little, you realize it's Rebecca, and she like comforts him. And I can't remember. I think it's after he did. Yeah, it's after he did the same for her when
Mm-hmm.
she left the charity event. So it was a really good parallel.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, I really really liked that.
All right.
Um,
So
yeah, go
you
ahead.
want to talk about the ending?
I do. Yeah.
Let's talk about the ending because we're getting close to an hour and a half. We try
Okay.
not to go longer than an hour and a half typically with
Okay. Okay.
episodes. So let's wrap with
Let's
that.
do it then. Okay.
Okay. So was he right to go back to the States, to be there for his son, to leave this wonderful career he settled into and all these people who love Ted? Did he make the right decision?
I think it all hinges on one thing. And some people would say that it hinges on the kid. And most people would probably be right. I would say that it hinges on the wife. Because in the end, I think he made the right decision if what it was saying in the end was that they're together again. If they're together again and they're like a family unit again, then yeah, maybe he did the right thing. But if they're not, and he's like just going out there to try to make it work for their son, like the son could have gone to London. I felt like you clearly disagree with me.
I wish Ted could have stayed,
Yeah.
but Ted shouldn't have left in the first place. That's my
Ooh,
take
that's a good point.
because
Ooh,
you have a son.
that's fair.
No, from
Yeah.
across the globe, that is not parenting.
Mm.
And you don't just get to, and I'm bringing some of my morals and judgment into it. You don't just
Sure.
get to create a child and then turn over the responsibility because you got other things to do.
Yeah.
No,
I
you've
guess I
made a
was saying I
commitment
would have
here,
taken the kid with me. I would have taken
but
him
then the
over there.
kid doesn't have his mom with him. That's not
Yeah.
fair either.
Yeah.
The kid should have both parents. Both the parents do love him. It's not like there's an abusive parent or a
Right.
deadbeat parent. They both love him. He
Yeah.
needs both of them. So Ted, even if it's just for his son, he can find things to do professionally still, get over there and be involved and have a life. He can choose to do that for his son. And I
Yeah.
applaud that. That if it ends up working out and him and his wife ex get back together and who knows what the future might hold, but for the son is enough. My opinion.
Mm.
We hear a
Yeah.
lot of crap these days that kids are resilient. Do what you have to do. This is part of why divorce rates are off the charts. There are some divorces, yeah, that should happen.
Yeah.
Again, you got a guy beating his wife or something. Yeah, divorce.
Right.
Well, we've got a lot of divorces happening now just because I don't love him anymore,
Right.
or whatever, and people just deciding it's not working for me now. The
Right.
commitment is gone, and often kids pay a price. When they
Yeah.
say kids are resilient, they're fine, they're not. Now, I'm speaking as a child of divorced parents, so
Mm.
I've been through this.
Right.
It's garbage to say the kids will be fine. Parents, if there isn't some compelling reason, he's a drug lord, she's cheating on you with every guy in the neighborhood. If there's not a
Right.
compelling reason like that,
Yeah.
tough it out for the sake of kids. That's important.
Yeah.
At least if you have to go apart, still be there for the
Yeah.
kids. And I know some parents who have divorced but stay in the same community and are still very active in their kids' life and still get together cordially. They may even do some events together, even though they're not married anymore,
Yeah.
because they're still a family, even though they're not married anymore.
Yeah.
I respect that. You're doing what the kids need. Ted is doing what his son needs. And they show that he's starting to have trouble at school. He's having issues with other kids. He needs his dad.
Yeah.
So,
I guess I would say I agree in principle. Everything you just said, I legitimately do agree with. I would just say, like, I'm sure there's situations where the parents live in different states or whatever, and the kid is that not a common thing with divorced parents?
oh, it happens. And you see kids put on a plane and they fly to the other parent and spend time with them now. And this is still not the best for the kid. It's a way to make it work.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
having both your parents around daily, way better.
Yeah, I guess it's just hard for me as the viewer coming to love all these other characters with Ted, and it's hard to be like, yeah, he should have left Richmond, like, because I love him in there so much. So I don't know if I just have like too much invested interest in it.
Maybe season 4, and
Yeah.
he'll infect a
So,
whole bunch of people now in wherever he is in America and
yeah.
do it all over again. And it'll be about curling
Yeah.
or some other sport nobody understands.
Yeah. There is an interesting thing, like the showrunners have been talking about a spinoff now.
Really?
And
Okay.
yeah, because I think the show became like way more successful than they ever thought it would. Like Ted Lasso is huge.
Yes, yes, it
And
is. A huge win.
yeah, and so I think they're kind of like, oh yeah, maybe we should cash in on this a little bit more if we have a good storyline. What did you think of Keeley not ending up with Roy or Jamie?
It felt honest.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you end up going other directions.
That's fair.
Yeah, we wanted something to work out, but it's okay. I'm still gonna root for Roy to get back with that teacher.
Oh yeah,
I
100%.
felt that was a
Yeah.
good. That was
That
good.
was
That would
a
have
good
worked.
fit. What did you think of the ending of just like Richmond, AFC Richmond?
I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
content.
Yeah. I
And
thought
to
it was,
not to see them second.
yeah.
It's more real
Yeah.
than a storybook ending where everything
Right.
just comes out on
They
top.
get
I
first
I
place.
kind
Yeah.
of love that.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. And I liked that, you know, when Ted leaves, my initial reaction was, "Oh, the league is finished. Like that's the end of it." But then to see it go on without him and to become like Beard stayed behind, Roy
Yep.
stayed behind, Nathan stayed behind, and they
He
all,
leaves a legacy.
yes, I was just
That's the
about to
sign of
say
a good leader.
legacy.
Yeah.
And you know, if you look back at the intro to the show where first of all, fantastic intro song. Mumford and Sons does that, or the guy from Mumford and
Okay.
Sons does the intro song. But you know, he's sitting down in this stadium that has like graffiti all over the seats and
Yeah.
everything, and
Yeah.
every single seat that he touches that like
Starts.
spells out his name, it like cleans the seats. And
Uh-huh.
that's kind of what the ending is. Like everybody in the end is better off for having met Ted and for having met each other, and
Yeah.
for like this place was so
For
disjointed
having
when he joined.
believed.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And like everybody kind of like hated each other at the beginning of the show, and he comes in and just like healed everything. And the ending of the show is kind of like, yeah, this is what AFC Richmond is supposed to be. And so I loved it so much. And I love
You
that
so did.
Rebecca got her Amsterdam guy and his
Yeah, that
daughter.
was
I
good.
thought that was
That was so
great.
fun. Yeah, what a
Yeah.
nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's all I
Great
got.
chat. Great talks. Great show. So, Spencer, thanks for sharing the love of the show with me. It's another thing we've
Anytime.
definitely agreed on. We don't agree on everything, but
Yeah.
we agree on this.
Yeah.
And this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for
Awesome.
joining me today
Of
and
course.
talking to all of our people.
Yep.
Remember, if you want to check out more Spencer, his co-host Gabe, his other co-hosts, they've got their channel. I'll put a link in the show notes down below there, so you can just click and go straight to it. But just look for the Fantasy Files podcast. They're there, and good stuff. I'm one of their subscribers. Go subscribe to them too. Don't subscribe to them if you didn't subscribe to us, though. Come on.
Yeah.
We sent you there. So give it to both of us.
There's priorities here, okay? Like
all right, so that's where we'll wrap. Thanks for being with us, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Later.
And